Boston Massacre, March 5, 1770. Captain Thomas Preston was commander of the British squad that evening. He, along with the other members of the squad, was tried for murder in a Boston court. In the following trial testimony, Captain Peterson describes the events of that evening. On Monday night, about 8 o'clock, two soldiers were attacked and beat. But the party of the townspeople, in order to carry matters to extreme length, broke into two meeting houses and rang the alarm bells, which I supposed was for fire as usual, but was soon informed of the truth. About 9, some of the guard came and informed me the town residents were getting together to attack the troops, and that the bells were ringing as the signal for that purpose and not for fire, and the beacon meant to bring in the distant people of the country. This, as I was acting captain at the time, caused me to go immediately to the main guard-house. On my way there, I saw the people in great commotion, and heard them use the most cruel and horrid threats against the troops. In a few minutes after I reached the guard-house, about 100 people passed it and went towards the custom-house where the king's money is kept. They immediately surrounded the guard posted there, and with clubs and other weapons threatened to take out their vengeance on him. I was soon informed by a townsman their intention was to carry off the soldier from his post, and probably murder him. After which I called him to me to tell me himself what he heard, and he soon came back and assured me he heard the mob declare they would murder him. This I feared might be in preparation for their plundering the king's money. I immediately sent a non-commissioned officer and 12 men to protect both the sentry and the king's money, and very soon followed myself to prevent, if possible, all disorder, fearing lest the officer and soldiers, by the insults and provocations of the rioters, should be thrown off their guard and commit some rash act. They soon rushed through the people, and by charging their bayonets in half circles kept them at a little distance. Nay, so far was I from intending the death of any person that I suffered the troops to go to the spot where the unhappy affair took place, without any loading in their pieces. Nor did I ever give orders for loading them. This remiss conduct in me perhaps merits censure, yet it is evidence, resulting from the nature of things, which is the best and surest that can be offered, that my intention was not to act offensively, but the contrary part, and that not without compulsion. The mob still increased and were more outrageous, striking their clubs or bludgeons one against another, and calling out, "Come on, you rascals, you bloody backs, you lobster scoundrels! Fire if you dare, G damn you! Fire and be damned, we know you dare not," and much more such language was used. At this time I was between the soldiers and the mob, negotiating with, and endeavoring all in my power to persuade them to retire peaceably, but to no purpose. They advanced to the points of the bayonets, struck some of them, and even the muzzles of the pieces, and seemed to be endeavoring to close with the soldiers. On which some well-behaved persons asked me if the guns were charged. I replied yes. They then asked me if I intended to order the men to fire. I answered no, by no means, observing to them that I was advanced before the muzzles of the men's pieces, and must fall a sacrifice if they fired; that the soldiers were upon the half-cock and charged bayonets, and my giving the word fire under those circumstances would prove me to be no officer. While I was thus speaking, one of the soldiers, having received a severe blow with a stick, stepped a little on one side and instantly fired, on which turning to and asking him why he fired without orders, I was struck with a club on my arm, which for some time deprived me of the use of it, which blow, had it been placed on my head, most probably would have destroyed me. On this a general attack was made on the men by a great number of heavy clubs and snowballs being thrown at them, by which all our lives were in imminent danger, some persons at the same time from behind calling out, "Damn your bloods, why don't you fire?" Instantly 3 or 4 of the soldiers fired, one after another, and directly after 3 more in the same confusion and hurry. The mob then ran away, except 3 unhappy men who instantly expired. 1 more is since dead, 3 others are dangerously, and 4 slightly wounded. The whole of this melancholy affair was transacted in almost 20 minutes. On my asking the soldiers why they fired without orders, they said they heard the word fire and supposed it came from me. This might be the case, as many of the mob called out fire, fire, but I assured the men that I gave no such order, that my words were, "Don't fire, stop your firing." In short, it was scarcely possible for the soldiers to know who said fire, or don't fire, or stop your firing. On the people's assembling again to take away the dead bodies, the soldiers supposed them coming to attack them, were making ready to fire again, which I prevented by striking up their firelocks with my hand. Immediately after a townsman came and told me that 4 or 5 thousand people were assembled in the next street, and had sworn to take my life with every man's with me. On which I judged it unsafe to remain there any longer, and therefore sent the party and sentry to the main guard, where the street is narrow and short, there telling them off into street firings, divided and planted them at each end of the street to secure their rear, momently expecting an attack, as there was a constant cry of the inhabitants, to arms, to arms, turn out with your guns. And the town drums beating to arms, I ordered my drums to beat to arms, and being soon after joined by the different companies of the 29th Regiment, I formed them as the guard into street firings.